So do you remember this business in Longview called Daiquiri Express?
I do. Yeah. I do remember.
And do you remember the sign for it with that guy? He's like, yeah. He's got like his tongue sticking out.
He's like, yeah, totally rad, man. Daiquiris.
I love him. I bring that up because we went to a Dallas's version of Daiquiri Express.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Oh, it was crazy. So many things were crazy about it. Started with my day at work was very long and exhausting. And so we went to go get daiquiris, and it was like a drive-through place,
Yeah.
Which is a very funny concept. I don't know if they exist everywhere, but that's just the only thing stopping you from drinking and driving is a plastic bag. Like, that's it.
Yeah. Well, they have beer barns and stuff too. It's the same kind of concept as.
Well, those aren't like cold beers they give you, are they?
Yeah, I think they are.
I've never been to a beer barn.
So I guess I haven't either. But I've been to a Daiquiri Express, but
you lived in College Station. I assumed everyone had to.
No. Usually civilized folk get them from like the store,
I just assumed as you drive into town, they hand you a beer.
You go through a barn. Yeah, on the way.
You have to.
All roads in College Station lead through a barn, and people say howdy to you. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's how it goes. Actually, I forgot about that. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, no problem. Keeping you honest. So yeah, we went to this daiquiri place. We went. It was like 5:30, and we got ours. First off, the names of these daiquiris were obscene. Like,
ooh, nice.
Yeah, I got to send you a picture of it because it was one of them, just for a little preview, was called Suck Me Dry.
Nice.
Yeah. And it was great because on the sign it said order by the number. They're like, I don't want these strangers telling me these obscene things. Please use the number system.
Could you please get me the boob drink?
Boob drink. I like that.
I failed at coming up with something dirty and clever at that time. So boob drink it was.
I ended up getting something called the North Park, and then Kyle got Sex in Dallas, which was actually much better than mine.
Nice.
But it's okay because he got a gallon of it, so I got to try it later.
Damn.
Yeah, it was a weird night. I was like super exhausted because I hadn't slept much the night before, but I ended up staying up till like 4. I don't know, my body's just bad at sleeping now. So yeah, we got these daiquiris, and then you know what we did? We watched. There was an online EDM festival.
Oh my gosh.
Kyle told me about this. I laughed in his face for like a whole minute. I was like, that sounds like the stupidest fucking thing. Like, the point of EDM is to be in like a crowd.
Yeah.
And be, like,
do you stand
pumped.
in your living room where it's dark and then you jump around? What do you do?
No, you just like get drunk and get fucked up and watch TV basically. And it was actually, I mean, once I had a few daiquiris, it was very good. Yeah, it was very weird. One guy I really liked because he had like a lot of like Latinx flair. It was good. He put like gasolina in there, and I was like, oh shit, that's my jam.
Yeah.
And between acts, they had this guy called Disinfecto come out, and he would like wipe down all the knobs and shit, and they'd be like, do Disinfecto.
I like that.
So yeah, it was entertaining. Surprisingly, again, I think the daiquiris helped.
Yeah, they seem to have Disinfecto. That's a good one.
Yeah, it was very weird, but I enjoyed it. So that's how I spent my Friday night. But I'm recovered now, so let's get to our studies.
Let's do it.
Like good students.
All right, what are you studying today? What do you want me to teach you?
Well, I want you to teach me about. Ooh, that's good. The Communist Manifesto.
The Communist Manifesto. All right. One of Marx's earlier works, 1848. I think we're talking here.
Yeah, I didn't know the year until like later because I was like, what is he referencing? Like I spent a lot of the time being like, what even happened in 18 whatever?
Yeah, and one of the confusing things about reading Marx, because it's kind of annoying, like sometimes leftists of various persuasions will tell people, like, when they're asking them, you know, hey, can you explain this idea? Like, what do you mean by this? Blah, blah, blah. They'll be like, oh, man, you just, go read theory, go read some theory and you'll know this stuff.
Yeah, they like send you to school first, basically.
Yeah, like, please do your homework and then we'll talk.
Ugh.
But the annoying thing is that this stuff is, if you're reading like Marx himself and Lenin and really any of these early old guys, is that it's referencing stuff from that time period.
Yeah. So like, I mean, not to put you on blast now,
No,
but you
yeah.
said this was going to be easy, and you saw how many notes I had in questions. I had whole paragraphs with just question marks next to them.
So yeah, I was thinking about that myself when I was reading it, and like I recall that I have read it. I didn't recall much of it besides maybe like certain key points. So I don't know if if I read the abridged version or if I read about it or some sort of summary.
You were just smarter then or something.
Yeah, I just forgot.
You were like in college.
I don't know when I read it, but I did not apparently pay attention to a lot of it. A lot of the more specific things, especially.
Yeah.
Because I was just, it is confusing because he's referring to things in that time. He's referring to things obliquely a lot of times, and
There's a lot of shady, like passive aggressive kind of tone in this. I love
there's
it.
so much shade throwing, and
Yes.
Marx is very funny. Once you peel back who he's making fun of, it's pretty funny sometimes.
Okay.
Marx is nothing if not a messy bitch. Like he is.
Some of these were very funny. Yeah, I did have some. I wrote LOL next to things.
If you want to follow along with us as we get into this, you can do so. There's a completely free version of this all online at Marxists.org. Honestly, if you just Google Karl Marx Communist Manifesto, that's probably what you're going to get.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Pretty easy to find. If you want to be an extra good student, you can subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/teachmecommunism. And there we are going to upload my notes, which you'll hear me refer to a lot in the recording, because I did lots of little doodles and question marks and stuff like that. So if you want to get a little piece of that for yourself, you can download that there.
All right, let's get into it.
Okay. Yeah, and like I made a lot of notes, like literally as soon as the second word, I was like, haha, because he used the word specter, and I was like, ooh, spooky.
That is such a good opening, too. A specter is
Dude.
haunting Europe. The specter
Yeah.
of communism. That's dope. Like, cool. I want to see this metal band, like.
Yeah, for sure. He was a hype man, this first paragraph. It was basically like a throwdown. Like it was definitely like a mic drop at the end. It was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I see early on you were asking about some names and some groups
Yes.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Specifically, Marx says, all the powers of old Europe have entered into a holy alliance to exorcise the specter. The Pope and the Tsar, Metternich and Guizot, French radicals and German police spies.
So I knew like half of those people. I'm like, I know who a pope is. I know who a czar is.
Yeah.
Who are those other guys in the middle?
They're similar to the Pope and the Tsar. They're very powerful people at the time. Clemens von Metternich was the prime minister and the foreign minister of the Austrian Empire.
Okay. So that was still going on.
So he's pretty powerful. Yeah, it was still going on till World War I. He was also very conservative. Like he tried to keep, the power in the hands of the aristocracy and stuff like that.
Okay.
Guizot is similar. He was the prime minister and foreign minister of France.
Okay.
And he was also, I was reading about him a little bit. He was a big time conservative. He famously told people who were agitating like for voting rights for everybody, regardless of like property ownership. Mm-hmm. He was telling them, look, if you want to vote, go enrich yourselves, go work hard, save money. You'll be able to vote. That's how you get to vote.
What the fuck?
He was kind of an asshole.
Like me.
Yeah.
God, what a piece of shit.
Yeah, he eventually, his actions kind of directly led to a revolution that overthrew his king, so he kind of sucked.
Yeah, sounds like it. Okay.
So yeah, you have this epic opening, right?
Yes.
Basically, like you said, it's a throwdown. It's an observation, basically, that the powerful are united against communism. They say communism sucks. We got to do something about it. But Marx is here to tell you why it doesn't suck, why it's actually cool, and why it's a good thing for the workers, and why you shouldn't believe everybody saying, talking crap about it.
Yeah, what I liked about it was, and he does this throughout, where he basically he kind of jokingly sets up communism as like a boogeyman so many times. He's like, people think we want to do this. And he'll be like, we do. And it's just great. Like, he's just like, fuck it. Here's what I'm about.
Yeah. He has a good way of both kind of provoking that way. Like we said, he's very messy. Mm-hmm. But
he's a messy bitch.
He's trying to provoke it in a way that makes it clear that it is bad for some people, but it's good for other people. And it's good for the people who he's trying to talk to,
Yeah, I mean, for most people, basically. Okay, cool. So yeah, that first section, to, you know, kind of keep up with our recap, is basically, hey, everyone is scared of communism, but hey, it's cool. Let me break it down, basically.
Yeah, the preamble. He's getting warmed up. He's
with a tint of like, maybe you should be scared, which I like.
Yeah, basically he's like, some of you people in the audience, you should be kind of scared, but others of you, you'll be fine. You're actually, everything's going to be good for you. And then he moves on into the first of the main sections, the bourgeois and the proletarians. Here's one big observation I have for this document that I forgot, is that I think it's pretty much impossible for me to spell correctly bourgeois or bourgeoisie.
Nope.
Ever.
I was making notes literally on the side of the document, and I still had to check. Like, where does the U go? Where's the I go?
I'd be looking at it and just leave out an E, leave out a U, leave out something.
There's so many vowels. So many vowels in French.
It's annoying.
It is. It's a little annoying.
But this first section basically starts out by outlining, this is kind of what we were talking about last episode, Marx's theory of historical development. So maybe you saw how much I cribbed from this early part.
No, yeah, like I didn't really make any notes in this first, like, I don't know, like the first page or so, because I was like, yeah, this is what we talked about last week. I got it. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I was not confused. So you did a good job.
Awesome. Yeah, that's the theory of kind of class struggle and history progressing in that way. You had a question, though, a little bit later when he starts talking specifically about the third estate.
Yeah, what is the third estate?
So when he's in that section, he's talking about the old society, the feudal society. The third estate refers to how it was divided up. The king was like at the top, and then he ruled over three different estates. The first estate being the clergy, the second estate being the nobles, and then the third estate being the peasants and the budding bourgeoisie, the people who lived in the cities. So
okay, yeah. So basically, this particular part is about how in every era the bourgeoisie get more power. I mean, through capital and through resource extraction and exploitation.
In the most recent era, they did, yeah. So in previous eras, they didn't exist yet, right? Like,
yes, that's right.
Yeah. So once you get to feudalism, the bourgeoisie starts getting more power. Eventually, they overthrow and become the ruling class, the capitalist class.
Yeah, he goes into this a lot later, which this was kind of hard for me to wrap my head around, was talking about how other classes, like there's a reactionary movement to try to overthrow the bourgeoisie, but it was from like higher classes, which makes sense. Like it's again, Downton Abbey. Like that's definitely a theme of that, of like people wanting their old power back.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was interesting to like when he broke that kind of stuff down and said like, I don't know, it felt like a marriage of convenience in a lot of ways. Like, yeah, sometimes people want to take them down. We'll take them down with them, but also like we're going to take them down.
Yes, I love that. Is that he's very frank about it and just says, hey, team up with whoever you need to. You know, you got to be friends with the liberals. You got to be friends with the monarchists. Doesn't matter. Team up with them and betray them when the time comes.
Exactly. Very practical, which is great because I was worried this was going to be all like utopian stuff, but no, he's like, here's what we do.
Yeah. So yeah, he kind of goes through there and really talks up the bourgeoisie, saying, you know, talks up in a way saying like these guys really seized power, you know, they made everything work for them. They are completely in charge. He says, I thought this was a good kind of highlight in an election year in America. The executive of the modern state is but a committee for managing the common affairs of the whole bourgeoisie.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Like elections are not real.
Yeah, I mean, they do have concrete effects, and they can be used. And I think that Marx does a good job of saying later on, like you said, team up with them, vote for this person, whatever, you know, do it, fight for everything you can, and then turn around and say it's not enough and do more. You know? Exactly,
yeah. Yeah, I know. I was talking to my partner, Kyle. He said that they approved like remote voting this year. Is that accurate? Did that actually happen?
Depends on, you know, which state and everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He made it sound like it was everybody, but
so there's in America, there's no federal election guidelines or anything besides like the Voting Rights Act, which says that you can't discriminate in certain ways. Other than that, like states run their own show.
Yeah.
So some states have strict voter ID laws. Some states already had like mail-in ballots, universally. That's why it's so different, is because it's up to each state.
Okay. Well, I thought you said something like they were moving forward with more like mail-in voting and stuff.
A lot of places are, yeah.
Good. But I was telling him, I was like, cool. So they can just like screw us over, the regular way instead of like the pandemic way. Like, good old-fashioned voter suppression, not necessarily just making you choose between your life and voting.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But they don't really need to. When your choices are as they are, they don't really have to screw you over that way.
Oh man, it's just a bummer. Okay, let's go back to this stuff.
Back to Marx's problems.
Yeah, but essentially, this first part really is the first episode. So, like, listen to that. Haha.
Go listen to theory.
Yeah, come on, do your homework. Yeah, before that, I did want to talk about like you talked about how the bourgeoisie basically run politics. I also highlighted the part that they do this under the guise of religion as well, which I thought was interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Marx's whole theory, what we were saying last episode, that the economy is what politics springs from. It's what culture springs from and everything. It's all used as a way to justify the way things are.
Yeah, and you see that today, like constantly. People are like, oh, you should, like, just very Puritan ideals.
Yeah, it expresses, society's values based on what society does for a living. It's the same, it's kind of a worse version of it, but it's the same as like in ancient societies when they're trying to explain the way the world works. They come up with a creation myth and they say, well, this is how it happened. And this is, why we do things the way we do things because of this cosmic story. That's what Marx says happens really in any society. We're no different.
Oh, yeah, makes sense. And then I had another note. Oh, yeah. This one, it has converted the physician, the lawyer, the priest, the poet, the man of science into its paid wage laborers. I think I liked that because he talks about this later, too, how basically this whole system reduces everybody to suffering in some way.
Yeah.
Some of these especially, like the priest, like that shouldn't be just about money, but it is. Same thing with the poet. Like that sucks. And like science is completely run by where does your funding come from?
Yeah, what's profitable? They won't, make or put money into making or researching vaccines because they're not very that doesn't make you any money. Treatments make you money, and so that's where the money goes.
Reproductive health, all the the classic argument that like all the money goes to Viagra instead of like finding a pill that doesn't have horrible side effects.
Yeah, because what do those old senators and congressmen need? They need Viagra rather than Yep,
it's ridiculous. Another thing I highlighted here was I really liked whenever he talked about the family, just because, again, I'm still reading that marriage book. I said I was going to finish it last weekend, and then I didn't. I probably won't finish it this weekend either. I read right before bed, so I just get sleepy.
Fair enough.
So yeah, this was about how the bourgeoisie reduced the family relation to a mere money relation, which I thought we kind of talked about this last week too, but the idea of society was originally a lot more egalitarian when it came to gender. And then as you got more developed, that's when we started separating gender roles a lot more. And it was a really good read because this book was Marriage of History, because it outlines that quite clearly. Like community farms, like your whole village worked together basically because you fucking had to.
Yeah.
Women did a ton of work. They basically like housemaking wasn't just cleaning. It was like you carded wool, you made soap, you like did all this shit and really supplemented your income with all these different methods. And then when you got into like craftsman guild kind of stuff, basically a husband and wife, like that was a team. Like if you're a carpenter, you tried to find a lady carpenter so you can have a good business. Or like sense. A woman knew how to run the books or something.
Yeah.
And like often people would delay marriage until they were like a master carpenter or whatever, or they would finish their apprenticeship. But then as like it got more industrialized, that's when we really started having the idea of like the male breadwinner, even though actually it took a while because like women were still like taking in like laundry and stuff like that.
And not just that, but also working in the home. If you think about it, if you don't have washing machines, laundry machines, dishwashers, all the appliances that we have and everything, you're talking a wood burning stove and everything.
Yeah, that's a ton of fucking work.
Yeah, it was washing everything by hand, all that, like scrubbing floors. Like this was not child's play. Oh, I'm just hanging out at the house, Even now, it's still like work, but it's not as much work as they were doing back then.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was,
And all of it unpaid.
yeah, exactly. That's the thing is like historically, women's work has been underpaid or not paid.
Yeah.
And it's very clear when you put it in these terms of the whole sentimentalism of family covering up this fact. Like, oh, she's just doing it because she loves it. And it's like, no, man, like this is fucking work.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's kind of goes into other traditionally female-dominated fields. Teaching, nursing, any sort of caregiving field especially is sort of, derided in that way of saying, oh, this is something people do because they love it. You really shouldn't be asking for all this money. Like, you're doing it for the kids. You're doing it for whoever. Don't be greedy, basically.
well, what's interesting is that like you can see that happen in real time. Like my example was going to be like teachers used to be mostly male, and then as women took more of those jobs, like the wages went down. And same thing. I'm a designer, and I see that happening in the design field. Like my graduating class was mostly women, and like it is hard to make a living in this. Like you have to basically go work for a big corporation, and like I'm wondering how much of that has to do with like this fading kind of design bro culture, and now it's young women who are getting underpaid.
I mean, yeah, that it's happened in other fields, so it makes sense for it to be happening there too.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to my big question mark paragraph.
I like it. Okay, so Marx was kind of confusing in the way he laid this out here, talking about the vigor of the Middle Ages, saying basically, to break it down, because the listeners might not want me to just read the paragraphs out for them, but Marx goes on to Marx goes on to talk about how much the era of capitalism has achieved, quote unquote, how much it has done. Okay. And he's just saying that it has accomplished these things, and kind of they're bad. They have achieved big things in terms of like industrial output and stuff. But he also says, they've conquered all these places. They've, expanded out into far-flung corners of the world. He says, it has conducted expeditions that put in the shade all former exoduses of nations and crusades. So he's like,
yeah, what the fuck does that mean?
So he's just saying like, oh, that's, the crusades, the big wars of the past, like they're bullshit in comparison to what capitalism can do now.
Okay.
Like this new age we're in has produced such abundance. It's far outstripped anything from previous eras.
Okay.
And how does it do so? He goes on to say it does so by constantly changing how they're doing things. So instead of just saying, well, this is the feudal estate, we're doing this, that's it. It's constantly developing and saying we're going to be more efficient. We're going to, we're going to time you guys on the assembly line and make sure that you're doing everything as fast as you can. It's constantly driving for more profit, and so constantly, getting better at what it does.
Okay. All right. So I have a dumb question. And that is 1848. Can you place that historically for me in terms of like the Industrial Revolution? Were they in it before it?
Yeah. So they were in it. They were in the Industrial Revolution. This is before. So this is as the railroads are expanding, but before they've like completely networked all over the place.
Okay.
You still have a lot of, I think, like coal-fired places, steam-fired, that's kind of the factory setting you're looking at. But yeah, definitely in the Industrial Revolution, for sure.
Okay. So that makes sense then for him to be like, damn, this is crazy. Because it was crazy, as we know.
And it was wholly new. You're starting to see people, and he talks about this later, moving from the countryside to the cities in large numbers. Urbanization and the first like really huge cities in the modern era. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, what's next? See, he talks a lot about reactionists, but sometimes he capitalizes it. Is that like a group of people?
The reactionists are they're just reactionaries.
Okay, I didn't know if it was like a party or something, because like sometimes he capitalizes it, sometimes he doesn't, so I wasn't sure.
It wouldn't have been like a formal political party, I don't think, but you may have had like a reactionary faction that was kind of, but yeah.
Okay. But yeah, the rest of this part is basically, he's talking about how, quote unquote, a good job they've done. They've done a good job of being terrible.
Yeah.
Drawing in raw materials. Let's see. Oh, I had a question about this. He talks about, so as in material, so also in intellectual production, the intellectual creations of individual nations become common property. What does that mean?
So that's a very, I love this question because
Yeah, I wrote to the side, is this bad?
yeah, that's a wonderful question because earlier, before then, you're right. He's saying basically how bad capitalism is because it's done all these bad things, and then he tosses this in there that's like good, right? It's
Yeah, like he's talking about, look at all the fucking resources they're extracting and exploiting. Look at all these like crazy, like, I mean, I'm looking at it from like an environmentalist view, like look at how bad that is basically, and look at how fucking much they're exploiting people. And then he throws this in there.
Mm-hmm. It's great because okay, so basically, is globalization under capitalism bad, right? That's kind of the overall thing. And he's kind of laying a good point out there that it's bad in terms of what it's used for right now. And you're right to think about it from the environmentalist perspective, because what is it and what's it doing to people? It's exploiting them, right? But it also has some good sides. The intellectual creations being common property, like that's a good thing. We kind of share ideas more. We're closer tied together in terms of the global community. So the way it globalizes things right now is not good. Like it destroys the environment. It's global destruction of the environment, global wars, inequality, exploitation. That's bad. But if we're in charge of that and we have all that industrial capacity, but we can do it like good instead, and we're like not trying to figure out how can we best rape the earth to get as much stuff as we can, and we're thinking how can we use this responsibly to help everyone, then that's a good thing.
It's like the internet, which like is a very corporate thing, and like people gouge the fuck out of you for it. But at the end of the day, I would like internet because then I can like get on some lefty spaces, and
so it will be a good thing. So it even has some good aspects right now, but that, we can make that everything about it can be good once the people are in control and they can use it to help themselves
eventually
instead of their bosses.
Yeah, because he goes on to talk about like, more shitty stuff about capitalism, including like colonization, and basically like, I don't know, like he talks about like other countries which are basically forced to join capitalism.
On pain of extinction.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good line. And that basically countries were created by capitalism, which is very true. Like you look at fucking like how Africa was just sliced up and divided based on who wanted what.
Bunch of straight lines. That always works.
Exactly. Yeah, that's never going to cause any cultural problems. That's totally fine. He calls, so we talked about like urbanization some. He says he calls rural life. He says, thus rescued a considerable part of the population from the idiocy of rural life. Is he just being judgy or is he joking?
I think so it may be sort of an antiquated use. I think it means more like ignorance or like kind of simpleness of it. Like
a quaint.
Yeah, quaint or kind of rustic in outlook.
Okay.
He is kind of being judgy, like he is kind of saying like, when you're a country bumpkin, but he's not meaning it to be like you're a complete moron, Yeah. It's just like you don't know about enough stuff. You're not as cultured.
As a former country bumpkin, I'm offended.
Well, but you've escaped the idiocy of rural life.
I have. I'm living that city mouse life. Okay. My next question was about the term social labor.
Social labor,
I didn't get what that was.
Marx is talking about extolling the quote-unquote wonders of capitalism, like how it has subjected nature's forces to man, machinery, application of chemistry, basically saying, wow, look, we've made so many advances. How have we done this? How has this happened? His term social labor here is just referring to mass labor, like society is being employed to do these things.
Which I think is a good point, because you get a lot of conservatives saying things like, well, capitalism has brought us all these great things, like, all these inventions and all this shit and like whatever. But it's like, yeah, but it also like, it wasn't, the god of capitalism doing that. It was people and their labor.
Right.
Like whenever people, like the job creators argument, like, which makes me so fucking mad. It's like Jeff Bezos isn't out there hand delivering all those packages. Like...
Exactly.
He did not do all the work.
That's what Marx is pointing out here, but with the term social labor is, we've done all these things. You're right. It's not the titans of industry doing it on their own. They are the ones marshaling the social labor, the society. They're the ones directing them to do these things. It's society that's creating all these advancements, but it's a few who are reaping the rewards.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, he's basically saying all these accomplishments are really the result of social labor.
Yeah, like we could have all done it together instead of relying on one man's pocketbook.
Yeah, and that's kind of the next step he wants to take. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Let's see. My next note is a doodle of Mickey Mouse in a sorcerer hat.
The sorcerer who is no longer able to control the powers of the netherworld, whom he is called up by his spells. He was clearly like fresh off a awesome session of D&D. Like,
yeah, for sure. He rolled a warlock and he's just really psyched about it.
Yeah, I love that line. But
good.
It gets to a good portion that you had some questions on. In general here, this passage I kind of treated as one question for you.
Yeah.
Where he talks about the crises of capitalism.
Yeah, this was confusing to me. Like, I'm going to take a guess and you tell me how far away I am from being right.
Yeah.
It's like basically capitalism fuels its own destruction by getting too big and too good at what it does. Is that right?
Yeah, basically.
Okay,
yep.
I did it.
And its own temporary destruction, like when he's referring to these crises, he's referring to repeated cycles that have happened,
Yeah, I want more context of these. Like, what is he referring to?
Have you heard of the boom and bust cycle?
Yes.
All right, yeah. So that's kind of what he's referring to here, is that capitalism will develop and grow and produce more and more, rich, stock in modern day terms, it'd be like, stock market soaring, everybody's great, money's everywhere, unemployment's 0.5% or something, and then boom, crash.
Okay.
And this whole passage is, what the hell? Why does this happen?
Why does this keep happening?
Yeah, it's just like you said, the productive forces gets too good at what it's doing. It gets beyond what is good for the capitalist. So this is kind of a strange distinction, because it's not like we're drowning in stuff. Like, we can't, we're walking through the streets and all this shit is just like,
I can't walk.
Yeah,
there's too many TVs in the way. I can't get through.
It's not that. It's not that it's bad for people. Okay. What he's saying here is that capitalism relies on, building more and more profit for the capitalists. That's the profit motive, right? That's why they do things. So in, this kind of fucked up system, hospitals don't run to heal people. They heal people to make money.
Yeah.
Right. As the cycle progresses, okay, as they get more efficient at producing things to make a profit, they have to keep their wages low too. Because if you don't, if you just start paying your workers whatever they want, you're going to
lose money
for yourself, lose profit. It's because some other firm is not going to do that. They're going to keep paying their workers dirt, and they're going to make more profit than you. They're going to kick you out and monopolize the whole thing, and you lose. So all of them have an interest of keeping wages low, increasing profits. Well, eventually what happens? People don't have enough, money to buy all the shit they're producing.
Oh.
Right?
Okay.
Like,
is that what happened in this? This podcast should be called Christine Asks Stupid Questions. Is that what happened in the Great Depression?
It's part of the story. Yeah. So it's not completely it. But one thing Marx is saying is that people get squeezed out of the markets, and demand, really quickly falls because of that, because nobody can afford stuff. And the other thing is, as capitalists produce more and more, they start, flooding the markets, and it become like they make less money off of stuff because of that, if they do that.
Because there's, let's pick an arbitrary item. Like there's so many houses out there that no one needs that many houses. Is that what they're saying? Or no one can afford that many houses?
No one can afford that many houses at a rate that would benefit the capitalists.
Okay.
So this is the key thing here, is he's saying, like we said, it's not that too many TVs are in our way. It's not that we're like, the roads become crowded because there's too many houses on the block. What we're saying is, it's not that it's bad for people. It's that it's bad for capitalists. Okay. So when the system starts producing too much, go ahead.
I'm going to keep going with this house analogy because it's making it easier for my brain. So I'm a house company. I make houses. That's not how houses work, but pretend.
All right.
We could pick something else, but whatever. We're already in it. So I built a bajillion houses, and because I got so good at building houses, I can now build, a bajillion of them in a day. And I do that, but now no one can afford to buy these houses at a price where I'm making a profit. So I just spent all my capital building houses that nobody's going to buy.
Yes. And
okay.
So think about it. What would a sane society do at that point? All right.
They'd be like, let's give these houses to homeless people.
Right. If a sane society has a food overproduction, too many potatoes, let's hand out the potatoes. Oh my God,
the potato videos are stressing me out. Have you seen those?
I've seen pictures, but I haven't seen videos.
I think I saw like one video, mostly pictures, yeah, of just like fucking people in Idaho or whatever, just like, I'm not making a profit on these potatoes, I'm just going to get rid of them.
That's what we're saying by it's no longer in the interest of the capitalists to do that. So to provide, the farms, they don't grow that food to feed people. They grow that food so that they can sell it to people and make a profit,
Okay. Cause this has always been a very confusing tenet of capitalism to me. Like, since if you're listening to this way later, congratulations, you made it. But we're in the middle of this pandemic, and there's all these stories about the potatoes. There's stories about like planes are flying back and forth just to use fuel. Crops, like people are literally putting the plow thingy over their fields.
Yeah, plowing it back under, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm just like, what the fuck, guys? We could use that stuff.
Not the first time it has happened. We did similar things in the Great Depression. You've got people lining up for soup kitchens, hungry and out in the street. And meanwhile, you've got boarded up houses because people can't rent them, to people and make money. You've got farmers plowing under their fields because they're looking to decrease supply to increase prices and help themselves.
What the fuck?
This is a crazy system, and that's what Marx is saying.
It's insane.
Is the reason that's happening is because who decides things in the economy? The people in charge. And if they're not going to make money from it, they are no longer going to do it. They would rather, he says, destroy it, an enforced destruction of mass productive forces. That's what he's talking about here. Instead of, just saying, well, I'm going to lose money, they would rather, keep it from people.
That's insane. If you showed that to like a kindergartner, they'd be like, that's incorrect. That's not what we should do.
But that's where you're saying these economic crises come from, is not because all of a sudden, there was a famine, there was a drought, it's not something like that.
It's man-made.
The problem is we have these too much stuff for it to be good for the capitalists,
That's pretty nuts.
Yeah. It's no longer good for them to keep us alive, to feed us, to house us,
Yeah, it's no longer profitable to sell food or whatever. Yeah. I know you were talking too about, how people, I guess, spend money in the economy. Mm-hmm. I saw this great tweet about the $1,200 surplus or stimulus check. And people were like, I guess, I don't know who it was that was talking. It was some dumb white man in charge, I'm sure. But he was saying like, we were surprised they didn't spend it on like cars and like houses. And I'm like, do you know how much a house is? Like, do you know what money is? Like, they're like, everyone used it for food and rent. I'm like, yeah, because we needed that. Like, are you stupid?
They were surprised we didn't spend it on cars.
Or like they thought we were going to like go fucking take a vacation with it or something. Like he's basically disappointed in the way we spent the money because it wasn't as good for the economy.
Yeah. Well, with $1,200, what are you supposed to... With $1,200, especially sold to you as like, hey, this is a one-time thing. Don't get comfortable with it, Like, if you were saying, oh, you're going to get $1,200, every so often, maybe more people would have said, I'll blow this one, I'll use the other one responsibly or something, but...
Yeah, I used mine on Le Creuset. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so yeah, basically talking about the crises that capitalism makes for itself, being too efficient, I guess. My next question was this sentence. But the price of a commodity and therefore also of labor is equal to its cost of production. Now that sounds like a sentence I would read over and over in my high school economics class and then give up.
They might have it in one paragraph somewhere in your high school economics book and then spend the rest of the page saying, yeah, this is bullshit. Marx is wrong. Marx sucks. What he's saying here, this is his kind of theory of basically the idea that the price of an object is set by how much labor went into, how much capital and how much labor went into it equals the cost, plus whatever the profit is going to be.
Okay, because I understood the rest of the paragraph, so maybe I just got hung up on that one sentence because it sounded like the rest of that part was talking about how basically as things get more mechanized, it's technically easier to make something because instead of, an artisan welding something, you have an assembly line or whatever. And because it's easier, they can tell people to work longer hours and faster and all that shit and pay them less because they're like, hey, all you're doing is pressing a button. And that means the price of the object is cheaper and the wages are cheaper. And that means they make more profit.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. That was
Okay.
a very good insight. You actually helped kind of clear that second part of the paragraph up for me when I read your notes. I was like, okay, I get this a little more. I kind of skimmed that whenever I did it because I was like, But yeah, the confusing sentence is just to say that the capitalist can charge, whatever the price is based on how much he had to pay for labor.
Yeah. So as labor gets easier, quote unquote easier,
He can cut them wages.
Yeah.
And he can lower prices and yeah.
my note here was on the sentence or the part of the sentence. As the repulsiveness of the work increases, the wage decreases. And my first thought was service industry because my husband's in the service industry
Yeah.
and all of his friends are. And not just service. He likes his job, but we're seeing it now with a lot of the essential jobs, being touted as fucking heroes and stuff. It's like, those are very difficult jobs. And those are the jobs that get paid the fucking least. And Bullshit Jobs also talks about this. We referenced that last week. He has a great term for them. It's not this, but I'm remembering it as like icky jobs or something like that. Like
Yeah.
unfortunate jobs, basically, where it's like, it's so much fucking work, but it is essential. Like people who work sanitation, teachers, like that's so much fucking work and you're getting fucking not paid at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Marx even later on in this talks about, capitalists or our critics say, if you did this communism stuff, everybody's going to be universally lazy. They're not going to work at all. And he's like, your society right now, the more you work, the less you get paid. The less you work, the more you get paid. So you guys would have already been completely universally lazy if that was true.
No, I love that line because it's absolutely true. Like Kyle really misses his job because it was so physical and like it just really. I'm talking about Kyle a lot this episode. He's
the star of the
on
show.
My heart. He's the star of the show. Maybe I'm rewarding him because he listened to the first episode.
Nice. And you'll keep him listening if you keep people's favorite word is their name.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Anyway, but yeah, like it is such a physical job. Like he would come home and there's like literal like fucking sweat stains on him. And I'm like, you need to go change clothes. It's horrifying. But yeah, it's the hardest, most physical labor, I feel like, is just not rewarded in this country anymore. And like, it's just like, and I think about my job, which is like pretty chill. Like I'm just on my computer all day, moving shit around. Like it's not that hard to me.
Yeah. Intellectual work is definitely rewarded at a much higher rate than physical.
Yeah,
For sure.
it's very weird.
So what else do we have here?
My note. He kind of talks a bit about how we've gone from like artisan work to factory work, and I put it, my note here was the good old days in quotes, and then by Grandpa Marx.
Nice. Yeah, he does kind of reflect on that a little wistfully.
Which is weird because the rest of the time he's like, yeah, that was still bad too.
Yeah, he goes back later on and is just like, when he talks about the reactionaries wanting to turn back the clock, not realizing that they were actually the bad old days,
Yeah.
which, I think he's maybe just doing a rhetorical thing here.
Yeah, maybe it's a joke. Let's see. Yeah, talking about wage slavery, basically, right?
Yeah.
How little can we pay these people?
Yeah, I like this next part
Okay.
that you mentioned, unpacking this. It kind of refers
Yes.
back to what we were talking about before, where Marx says the more the labor of men is superseded by that of women, differences of age and sex don't play in as much. Like we said, that capitalism is now lumping everyone into the proletariat, into having to sell their labor. There's no longer as many distinctions, I guess, between that.
Yeah, so I wanted to unpack that because I wanted to make sure that I was understanding that correctly, which I think I was based on your explanation just now. But like from a historical view of women in the workforce, that's definitely the cycle of it, or definitely the progression was like I am now at the part of my book where the 50s and 60s are finishing up, and now women are entering the workforce. They've been entering it, for a while now.
Yeah.
But now they have to. They were talking about the recession in the 70s, and they said that young men were hit the hardest. Like their wages decreased just about as much as the average person's wages decreased in the Great Depression.
Oh, wow.
Men under 30, I think, was that stat. And so, like, you no longer could afford a house just on a single income, and so women had to enter it. But yeah, I just thought it was interesting that, I don't know, I wanted to make sure the labor of men is superseded by that of women. What does that mean?
So he's just saying the more it supersedes, so it's taken over by that of women. I don't think he's meaning that women are taking their place in the workforce so much as just also joining it and also having to.
The word superseded tripped me up, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, basically he's saying we're all having to do this. I think it's a little bit that Marx didn't have, later historians who looked at these eras and said, hey, actually women are doing a ton of labor before this. Yeah. I think he's kind of downplaying that a little bit, or doesn't know about it, or whatever.
I think so.
But it's not to say that like women, you shouldn't take from this that women we're just sitting around before that. Like
just chilling.
They were always definitely doing work. It's just now they're also doing work in the factories, in the mills.
We all know 1800s was the best time to be a woman.
Right? Yeah.
Obviously. Oh, God. Anyone that answers they would go to the past in a time machine is like, man, okay.
Yeah, either they're either a white male or,
or dumb.
Yeah, one of the two.
Yeah. That was my kind of note there, was that, like, yeah, women are actually working. Like, maybe they're more visibly working now, but, like, yeah, it was kind of a strange note to me.
I think it's an appeal in some respects. I think it's trying to say, women, you're in this too, man. You're in the proletariat as well. You are, you're increasingly a part of the factory floor and all that.
Yeah. All right, let's continue. Let's see. I wrote vicious circle. Why did I write that?
You're talking about
okay.
When you come out when you come out of the factory, you just got paid. Everybody wants your money, man. It's like the stimulus check thing when he's can't believe they didn't go buy a car with it. Man, they got, as soon as they got that check, somebody was asking them for rent. Somebody was asking them to pay their credit card bills. That's all he's saying there.
Yeah, for sure. It's like your money's already spent by the time you earned it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so what do you have to do? You have to go back to work because you're already out of money.
Yeah. Wage slavery. It's a thing.
Yep.
Let's see. And then Marx talked about, and I made notes on, talking about the middle class, like tradespeople. He says tradespeople, shopkeepers, and retired tradesmen. Basically, these people all turn into the proletariat. So I wrote, my note was talking about small businesses and artists. It's gone from this like, quaint, like crafty thing to do. And you see it now, like every young person now is like, hey, I like to sew now. How can I turn this into an Etsy? Like, it's just like everyone's scrambling.
Grind culture, man. You've got to do, you've got to monetize it. Otherwise you're wasting your time. Why are you doing that if you're not making money off of it,
Yeah.
It's a weird cultural thing, but it's not just like out of the blue, right? Culture comes from the economy. And so why does that become the cultural thing? Because people have to, because the economy is such that if you're not making money off of things, you're falling behind. You're falling into the proletariat.
Yeah. So like, I really liked this point that he makes, which is because there's so much competition from like larger businesses, you have to grind. You can use the example of artists because that's what I'm familiar with. Like, I understand that anyone can go out there now. Like, they have all these businesses now that are like, well, draw a picture of your dog. Like, these big businesses are doing this. And I'm like, fuck, that's what I do for people for money.
Yeah.
So like these larger businesses are just like taking that, or like, when you go into, I joke about this whenever I used to be able to go shopping in the real world. Once something makes it to like TJ Maxx or Target or something, like you'll see all these really cute like prints and stuff. And it's like, where do they get the inspiration for that? I can almost guarantee you is from like a small artist, doing their own thing. Mm-hmm. So like basically these artists are forced to be in competition with these humongous brands who are usually stealing from them.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think Marx's prediction here that this middle class would kind of fall into the proletariat is only kind of partially correct. Like
artisans, like bakers, and like why would I go to a fucking nice artisan bakery when I can go to fucking Kroger and get something very similar.
Right. Yeah. I think that partially that plays out. Obviously, you do have still a middle class or whatever. You know, even if people are bad about defining that, you do still have people who make a pretty good living and kind of have privileges above what you would consider a regular, like, proletariat person. So I don't know if, you know, everyone.
You mean like a small business owner or something?
Yeah. Like, you know, that class still exists, even if it does kind of get squeezed, as he talks about. I think the process, he's writing this in 1840s, the process is obviously a lot slower than he thought it would be, you know?
Yeah. I thought that was interesting because I'm like, yeah, we still have those people.
Yeah. It goes on to talk about the Luddites, basically the people destroying the machinery.
Yeah. Okay. Who is destroying it?
The Luddites. The Luddites were a movement in England.
Oh, I thought it just meant dumb people.
That's its modern connotation.
Okay.
It originated
I shouldn't say dumb.
It originated as people destroying machinery because that machinery was putting them out of work.
Because a Luddite means like you're bad at technology, right?
And so, you know, later on people just said, oh, well, those Luddites, you know, they hated technology. But that strips it of its actual class-like meaning, which was they hated that the technology was taking from them and giving to their bosses, you know. And Marx kind of characterizes it as irrational, like you kind of, you know, don't hate the
messenger
machinery, hate the capitalist above it, sort of thing.
Okay, yeah. So they were the anti-technos.
Yes.
For context, we used to play Legos, and we would put little families, and we would have the same families every time. They're basically dynasties.
Yeah.
And one family was the technos, and in their house, we would put every piece of technology-related Lego pieces inside their house.
Yeah,
so they were obsessed with technology.
Every control panel, every like computer face that, you know, tile we had, everything was in their house.
Yeah, they were the technos.
Oh, good times.
Okay, so they were the anti-technos. But they were doing it for a reason. They weren't just like, computers are confusing, you know, or, you know, in this case, granaries are confusing.
Yeah.
They're doing it because, like, hey, I used to work at a mill and now I can't.
Right. Yeah, it was for a reason, not just because they were stupid. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That's really funny, though, that the modern word means stupid. That's bad.
Yeah.
All right, next paragraph, I just have a big question mark, so I'm going to lean back, you explain.
All right, lean back, I explain. Marx here is talking about you had the bourgeoisie being compelled to set the whole of the proletariat in motion. Basically, this paragraph is a confusing way of saying that while working people in our current stage are sometimes united in things, okay, they're sometimes bound together to accomplish a task. So far, they have only done so at the behest of the ruling class. So the bourgeoisie sometimes uses them to do stuff, to fight other class enemies. So like to rile them up against the old aristocracy, the old feudalism, right? They're like, those guys were bad, right? You want to help us, you know, get the vote and have free trade and stuff like that.
Okay.
And the proletariat will be like, yeah, we do. They're kind of stirred up by the bourgeoisie.
So it's being like, hey, you don't want to just pay all your taxes to the king or whatever. Don't you want to like be in a society where you too can own a business?
Yeah. Okay. The workers have been duped into working together, but not in their interests yet. They've been used to fight other classes. They've been used to fight other countries. Okay, if fighting some war because it's good for the country. But they haven't yet. He's just saying that even though they've combined sometimes, they haven't yet combined as a class yet. They haven't said, we're proletariats, workers, we're fighting for workers, we're fighting for ourselves. They've only been stirred up by other people to fight for other people.
Yeah, I mean, like, the American Revolution is a good example of this, of, like, it's, you know, veiled in all this patriotic sentiment of freedom and shit. And it's like, no, some white guys didn't want to pay some taxes. Like, that's what happened. White guys made so much money here, they're like, I don't want to share.
Yeah. You have a big enough cut already, King. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Marx goes on to make some extremely good predictions. Basically saying, like, machinery is going to get rid of basically all specialized labor, and it's going to make everyone poor, which is like, yeah, I think that happened, guys. Yeah. My note was that, like, nobody can buy a house anymore. Like, it's just not a thing we do anymore, unless you're very rich.
Like, just buy a house, or just like,
yeah.
Because people can manage mortgages and stuff. increasingly barely, but they can,
Yeah, but it's much rare, especially for younger people.
Yeah.
And then people get pissed at us, and it's like, fucker, I can't
Well, we're
afford
buying
it.
too much avocado toast and lattes and all this.
Ridiculous. What's next?
I like this little part where he does talk about workers starting to agitate and saying, now and then the workers are victorious, but only for a time. He's kind of talking about those early labor struggles that were ruthlessly put down, like bloodily, lethally put down.
Yeah.
And he's saying, though, he's kind of giving people a little bit of hope in a dark time, because he's saying the real fruit of their battles lies not in the immediate result, them getting their heads split open, but in the ever-expanding union of the workers the union has helped on. It's basically you're losing this battle, but you are learning how to combine and how to fight for yourself.
Yeah, and we've already talked about this some, but I like this line of, this union is helped on by the improved means of communication that are created by modern industry. I really like that, because like we were talking about, as companies combine, you get more people talking. As, telecommunications improve, you get more people talking. And like those things were all created by capitalism, and we get to use those to bring it down.
Yes. There's a line later on that we'll get to where he's talking about capitalism digging its own grave. I
love that line. Let's see. He got a little ambitious here, where he's saying like, oh, we can do this in a few years. And I drew a sad face next to that.
Oh, yeah. He's talking about, hey, the railways make it to where we're going to have a union all over this country. Like, we're talking 5 years.
It's in the bag. Yeah. I was like, oh, sorry, honey.
No, it's great, because this is a little bit of backstory to the Manifesto. Since it's written in 1848, it's published slightly before a wave of revolutions. They're just called the revolutions of 1848 that kind of sweep through Europe. But they're bourgeois revolutions, basically. It's kind of sweeping away the last little parts of feudalism, absolute monarchy and stuff.
Where were these revolutions?
So you have them in France, in Germany, or the German Confederation in Prussia and stuff.
Yeah.
In Austria. I think Italy has some as well.
Okay.
But generally, they're sweeping away the old vestiges of that. They're getting more democracy, but, property holder democracy.
Yeah.
They're kind of making it more of a bourgeois liberal establishment sort of thing. And early communists joined in with that and were like, yeah, we also want to, do stuff for the workers. And people were like, what the fuck? No, we don't. We don't want to do that.
That's not why we're here.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, I liked this part too, was he was talking about the competition, the idea of if you don't take this job, somebody else will. Or, you better not complain. You should be happy to be here. It's all that fucking, survival of the fittest crap is my note.
Yeah, it's that. It's what's used for union busting. It's what's used for scabbing, any of these things as ways of keeping workers from solidarity with each other. And as a class, you pit them against themselves and say, just like you said, someone else will do it. We can find anybody. It's one of the big reasons for keeping a portion of the society unemployed, because if you don't, you're going to have to start paying people more.
Oh, wait, explain that more.
So if you have unemployed people, as if unemployment is 8%, right?
Okay.
I'm your boss. All right.
What's up?
You come into work and you're like, damn, I want more money. I can tell you, look, if you're serious about this and you're not going to work for the amount you're getting paid right now, I'll fire you. I'll get somebody else. 8% of the country is available for immediate hire.
And I bet that's much easier to do with workers who have I don't want to use the term low skill, but low wage work, because there's less training involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. If it's an easier onboarding process or whatever, then yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Because with my job, that takes a lot more training involved. Did you go to design school? You'd have to have all these qualifications and stuff. If it's a fast food job or that, you can get trained fairly easily. It's very hard work, but you can train someone very quickly on it.
Yeah. So we don't have to use the term unskilled labor, but if there are
I hate that term. That's what I was avoiding.
If there are fewer credentials.
Yeah. Because that's all it is really. Anyone can do most of these jobs unless it's you're a neurosurgeon or something.
Right.
But it's do you have the experience? Do you have whatever.
Right. Yeah.
You have the piece of paper
do you
that
have
says
3 to
you can
5
do
years
it.
experience and a degree.
Yeah, exactly. Again, I'm not, don't come at me.
No.
I'm not trying to be an asshole about it.
No, and you're completely right to avoid, calling it unskilled, because that's stupid. Like, unskilled labor,
There's still
man.
skills.
I don't know how to do any, I don't know how to do that stuff. I couldn't,
No.
even if I were, I would be shitty at it for a good period of time because I wouldn't know what the hell I was doing. It's not unskilled labor at all.
Yeah. So we can just say, like, this is more likely to happen with low wage workers.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That's what Marx is talking about there. And then we run into a big red portion that I kind of tried to break down.
Yeah, so red is what I use to mean I have a question about it. And this next section is like all red. So
Yeah.
take me away.
All right. So first you ask about Marx saying, he's saying how workers' movements can take advantage of divisions among the bourgeoisie itself. And you're like, how can it do that? Examples. Basically, this ties into later on, and we mentioned this too, that communists are willing to work with anybody.
Yes.
He's kind of alluding to that already. And
Means
saying,
to an end.
Yeah, and saying, hey, look, if you got some bourgeoisie fighting for some stuff that we want, we'll take them. I don't care if, they're technically a class enemy, whatever. We'll work on them for now. Liberal, social democrat, weirdo, socialist, aristocrat, doesn't matter. We'll team up with them. He goes on to start talking about who all the bourgeoisie is fighting against, like the different class enemies of the bourgeoisie. He starts with the aristocracy. As we're saying about those revolutions is they're still trying to get rid of the last remnants of that old society.
Okay, so it's cool to help them with that because we also want that.
Yeah. Okay. So it's fine to help them with that. The bourgeoisie is on the one hand fighting them. They're also fighting the portions of the bourgeoisie antagonistic to the process of industry, progress of industry. All that means is it's mainly referring to like small artisans, the old guilds.
The reactionary people we talked about.
Yeah, people who wanted to kind of keep it the old way because it was working for them.
Okay.
They're not aristocrats. They still like kind of in the bourgeoisie class, but they liked it how it was. And the bourgeoisie of other countries.
Okay, yeah. My note here was, is this the China argument? Which is it's really stupid.
Like we have to compete against China or something?
Yes. I feel like people bring that up all the time. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, it kind of is. I think that's used just to kind of keep people in line and say, like, America's good. We got to, because China's bad, we got to keep going against China. But I don't know. I guess they do have some sort of concern about, like, China's outcompeting us. They're stealing our intellectual property or whatever. So I guess there is still some element of this country, cross-country competition.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of how I read it of like, yeah, that's why we have to keep prices low and wages low because we need to compete. And like, that's why it's good that we're an American factory or whatever. And it's like, well, cool. But also like, we should not let that dictate what we're doing.
Yeah. That's a good insight to it, actually. That's what I love about teaching is you learn so much from it. You kind of figure out different ways to think about something as you're trying to make sense of it. Cool. Awesome.
So yeah, my next question was, again, we talked about examples. I was wondering, it talks about how the bourgeoisie will try to appeal to the proletariat to ask for help. I was thinking like, is this like bailouts? Because we did that.
Oh, like they're asking, hey, please help us directly.
Yeah, okay. Or like right now with the fucking pandemic being like, oh, please help your economy by buying shit, by buying a car, and by going back to work.
Yeah, that's 100%. That's part of it for sure. I wasn't even thinking along those lines. So that's a really good insight is that step up, do your part for our economy. We're all in this together. Yeah. Help us out, like you said, with bailouts or help us out by spending your stimulus check on cars, Yeah, no, that for sure. I was thinking in the terms of like going to war with another country.
Oh, that too. Yeah. Like this
saying, step up and, they're going to use their proletariat. That's who the rich aren't fighting their own wars. They're sending us, It's America going to war against these countries rather than like the oil companies, the defense contractors. It's the grunts getting conscripted into it. So that's another way to look at it too, is the economic side. Awesome. Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. What else is going here? I had another big question mark. This sentence, further, as we have already seen, entire sections of the ruling class are, by the advance of industry, precipitated into the proletariat or are at least threatened in their conditions of existence. Hey, what's that? What's going on there?
All right. So precipitated, they are raining down into the proletariat. They are.
I thought they meant like there's another meaning of that, right? Like that means like it came before or something.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. That's true.
It's okay.
But no, he's saying basically, right, he already mentioned that capitalism's kind of ever changing and ever, innovating. That's a stupid word for it, but developing its industry and stuff, right? And as that happens, people keep getting fucked over. Like we were saying with increasing automation and stuff, people keep getting knocked out of where they were into lower classes. So he's saying that even members of the ruling class will get knocked out of it. Maybe they get outcompeted. They get bought out by another company or shoved out of the market or whatever and or go bankrupt. They end up in the proletariat
get
or something.
Fired or something. Yeah.
Yeah. So even bourgeois, even bourgeois assholes can end up down with the proles.
Yeah. I take a small amount of pleasure from stories about like people getting fired from the pandemic, but they were like in these really cushy jobs and they're like, well, now nobody's hiring. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about like, I guess that sucks, but also like, welcome to the grind.
To the world. Yeah. I mean, I do feel for them in some ways just because of how uniquely difficult it must be to search for a job in this situation. I mean, what the hell? It's already hell world to try to find a job even when you can go out in public. Yeah. It's already bullshit. So moving on, though, in the section, he talks about the part of the bourgeoisie cutting itself off and joining with the proletariats, right?
Hey, is that me?
That's us. He's talking about us. Cool. Yeah. The bourgeois
rich people who are nice.
And he specifically says, comprehending theoretically the historical movement as a whole. That's like the exercise we're doing right now.
It is,
What we were talking about last episode is figuring out how this whole thing works and saying, yeah, we're on the side of the proletariat. They sound dope. Like, let's do that. Yeah. And he's talking about class traders. All right. Yeah. They are not bad, listeners out there. Class traders can be good for our liberal listeners. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, good example of a class trader who could, do a lot of good stuff for, the working class people, Social Security, the New Deal, stuff like that. More revolutionary types. Lenin was also pretty middle class, and he was very, his father, I think, was like a professor or something like that, or in charge of a school system somewhere. So yeah, class traders, kind of cool.
Take help where you can get it, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this next part, he talks about, kind of continuing this theme of like all these people are going to be against the bourgeoisie, but it's kind of a self-serving battle, like, the people who want to keep their jobs, the people who are getting pushed out with competition.
Mm-hmm. He says it in a bit of a judgy way, but I don't think he means, he doesn't mean it like keep them out of the movement. He's kind of trying to tell people, be aware of what they are, why they're in this, like use them. Yeah. But these guys might, at any moment when it's not working for them, watch out, basically.
Don't get too close.
Yeah. Then you have the note about the infamous lumpen proletariat.
Yeah, what the fuck is that word?
This one's just basically problematic, I think.
This one looks really problematic. It sounded like he was talking like, okay, I want to read this little quote.
Go ahead.
The dangerous class, lumpen proletariat, the social scum, that passively rotting mass thrown off by the lowest layers of the old society. Like, some very judgy language. Is he just talking about very poor people?
Yeah, pretty much. Marx says that these people are in such, squalor and are generally, this is Marx's kind of point of view here, are generally too stupid or too criminal or too wretched.
Marx.
Or all of these things. Basically, they're not capable of accurately doing anything besides either being fooled or bribed into, helping the proletarians or helping the reactionaries. They, as a class, are not able to really get it and really join with the proletariat.
Karl, I have my hands on my hips in disappointment.
I think it's bad. I just don't think we should.
Yeah.
This is one of those things. Just cross this part out. Like, don't do
problematic faves. I already crossed out his sections of discovering America. I just crossed out every time he said discover.
I saw that. I was like, good. Yeah.
That's bad.
And he may have come from a sympathetic perspective, kind of. He didn't express it here, but he may have been like, hey, it's not their fault. Like, society's fucked them over so bad that they can't do anything but look out for themselves. And if the reactionaries come and bribe them, I mean, they're going to take it because what do you expect?
Ugh.
I mean, he might just be saying,
I get.
Yeah, but he doesn't express
happen.
it well. He expresses it kind of like it's their own character.
Yeah, like they're so morally wrong. Like they're just bad people or something. It's like, oh man, chill.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, moving on. Let's hope he redeems himself later.
He does.
Let's see. Okay, I was confused about this part. So talking about proletariat without property, his relation to his wife and children has no longer anything in common with the bourgeois family relations, stripped him of every trace of national character. Law, morality, religion are to him so many bourgeois prejudices, behind which lurk and ambush just as many bourgeois interests. So basically, because they're so embedded in this class, they no longer care about any of those things. Is that correct?
Yeah, kind of. Marx was trying to say, I think here that, and I don't think he was exactly right here, that from the perspective of a proletarian, it doesn't matter to them what country they're in. It doesn't matter to them, what the dominant religion is or anything. These things shouldn't matter to them, but effectively eventually don't matter to them because they're getting screwed over so hard by capitalism in general.
It doesn't matter where you're starving, you're still starving.
Yeah. And so, and you don't really have time to care about law, morality, religion. This is all like bourgeois bullshit to proletarians.
I would say this reminds me of a point that the Trillbillies make a lot, which is that like poor working people don't have time to give a shit about electoral politics because they're like, I'm just trying to fucking make ends meet. Like, I don't care. It's effectively not going to change my life at all.
Yeah, and they're not, and they're not wrong. Like when they're talking about, I remember earlier in the primary season, they were talking about canvassing in the projects in Cleveland. I think Terrence was talking about that. And this is the Trillbilly Workers Party podcast that we're plugging here, by the way.
Extremely good.
Yeah, they're great.
I love them.
Check them out. But yeah, talking about going up to people and they're kind of looking at them like, geez, dude, what are you doing? That stuff doesn't matter. But I think that in some ways, yeah, you're right that like the electoral politics doesn't matter. But in other ways, to people who are thoroughly in the proletariat, I mean, working class people of all stripes, definitely still do care a lot about morality and religion. I don't think that Marx thought that this, was going to develop the way that it did. He thought that social forces were basically crushing people so much that they would just give up on religion, give up on morality.
I feel like if anything, they've clung harder to it.
Yeah, I don't think they are shrugging off that cultural element.
No, I think it's almost like they're using those things to make them feel more important. Like, well, at least I'm American. At least I'm a good Christian. And instead using those like different values to differentiate themselves between the quote unquote bad people, aka people of color, and queer people and people who don't share their religion.
Yeah, I think that this is another one that I think Marx probably got wrong or overestimated. Maybe maybe
Damn,
it'll eventually
Marx.
happen. But yeah, you don't
you don't win them all.
Yeah, you don't want to lionize anyone and say they always got everything right. So
yeah, problematic faves. All right, let's see. Their mission is to destroy all previous securities for and insurances of individual property. They being the proletariat, right?
Yeah.
So we're just we're done with property.
We'll get into the property question here in a bit.
Yeah, I had lots of questions on that.
I have a section on it. And I love it, and it helped me crystallize the distinction. All right, yeah.
Who's teaching who?
Yes, definitely. We're working through this together.
Okay. What's this next bit? I want to make sure we're giving a good recap.
He's basically kind of recapping that revolution has to happen. The bourgeoisie will be in power. The proletarians can't take power until they overthrow it. They can't just ask nicely. They can't just wait for the bourgeoisie to say, you know what, you guys can rule with us.
Yeah, they can't legislate their way to it.
Yeah. And then he gives a big recap where he says, hitherto every form of society has been based on these classes, and it progresses necessarily, and we're going to be to the next point where the essential conditions will change. This last part, I know you had a note on that.
My note just says, fuck yeah.
Yeah. And that's what we were referring to earlier. Capitalism, the bourgeoisie, therefore produces above all its own gravediggers.
Yumma, yumma.
It's a great way to sum it up.
We've talked about this before. So the idea that like there's all these workers together, they're going to start chatting.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we went kind of longer than we thought. So let's wrap up.
All right. Yeah, we'll put a pin in it for now.
Yes, and we'll continue next time. Thank you all for listening. You can follow us on social media. On Twitter, we are Teach Communism. On Instagram, we are Teach Me Communism. What else? You can send us an email, teachmecommunism@gmail.com if you have questions. And if you want to write us a review, that'd be great. We already got a couple of those, so thank you so much to those people who did that.
Yes, you guys are great.
Yeah, that was awesome. Keep bringing those in. We'd love it to read more nice reviews. Please feed my need for validation. So yeah, we'll see you next time.
Part 2's coming.
Yeah, thank you for teaching me communism.
Where the class struggle is always in session.